And I figured I'd like either put this together and just like I haven't figured out if I should do like YouTube and just kind of do things that way or
Yeah.
like what makes the most sense. So I don't know who we're talking to, but other than just ourselves. So
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. I guess we can just kind of start and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So hello.
Hi.
I'm Nick from Nicks and Cuts, and I'm here with Micki
Thorson.
Thorson. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I'm Micki, pronouns are they, them, and I'm the owner of Shire and Shears.
You just changed your name. How are
I
you feeling
did.
about it?
I really love it.
Yeah?
Honestly,
Okay.
I'm super excited. Not super, like, I don't know if I want to, like, I don't know how it works with the business, because my business name is still the same as it was. And I'm like,
VOR and all that jazz.
yeah, and I'm like, do I really want to do that?
It's like
But
changing your legal name sometimes.
I know, it's such a pain.
And then like all of your marketing too.
Yeah, like literally. But I am really excited. I think it's good. When I initially, because I've only been out on my own now for like a little over a year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I kind of like, the first year was very experimental. Like, let's see if I can even do this.
Well, that's like a year full time.
Yes. Yeah. So, going from that like experimental phase to now I'm like, okay, I want to have a little bit more of like a branding type of a vibe.
And you've developed your like flavors a little bit more too, and just kind of where you're at with it.
100%.
Yeah. What's that journey been like a little bit? I know mine, but I'll share mine, but like what's yours been like?
Yeah, it's been really fun. I think like up until, I don't know, I feel like for me, a lot of it has been shaped by like the clients that I had sitting in my chair already. I definitely like have asked them like feedback on how I can make things like more accessible and like what I can do to improve things. So it's been like almost a little bit of collaborative thing as far as like how I run things.
Yeah.
And then like recently it's been really fun because I've been able to like redo my room because I switched from, I was essentially renting like part-time at the studio that I was at, and then I recently switched to renting it full-time. So now it's like my room, no one else has to go in it.
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
Like my thing.
Were you in that space with another person? Were you
so
in like a different room?
Kind of. It basically like I was the most consistent renter week to week, but then every so often like people would rent the space for like a day or two.
Okay.
So a little bit.
The gaps that you weren't there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but now it's just me, and it's so nice.
So for me, like I just stepped out into my own 100% like back in November, and before that I was here kind of doing perms and like little things here and there.
Yeah.
While still at like the company I was with previously.
Yeah.
But it is definitely one, it's been a game changer being 100% full time like in my own space, and two, it really like I'm glad that I had that year of a little bit of buffer just for my own personal things, so I could kind of take my time and like do that. But even now on my own, it definitely makes me think more about like branding and things like that. Especially, I think we might have worked at different locations of the same company.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you know, going from any kind of corporate industry to being on your own, you really get to define like what your clientele is and who you want to work with, which is fantastic. It helps that like I think in our time in those corporate industry areas, I don't know about you, but like we start to see the same personalities and like similar things that we just naturally seem to attract to us.
100%.
Which is really cool because usually it is a good fit on some level with that.
Yeah.
But how much of that has impacted or like changed kind of like where you're at now with your business?
Yeah, I think it's so funny you say that. I'm like, because it's been so nice being out on my own, if only for the fact that it's like I can give like, this is what you can expect when you sit in my chair. And because of that clarity, I feel like it just attracts my people to my
Yeah.
chair, which is so nice. Like, as opposed to before working for a bigger company, like I definitely would like find certain people sitting in my chair and like requesting me, but I also was getting a lot of people that it's like I'm not necessarily like wanting to cater myself to like that type, just because they would, you know, be a walk-in or like already an existing clientele of like the place that I was working at. And so I think it's been nice to be able to like present myself a certain way, and that draws in the type of people that I want to sit in my chair. It's so refreshing.
Not only like curating your services, because you get to really define like what you see as the quality of service that you want to give, and it's not dictated by outside forces necessarily, unless it's your clients, but also like really curating your whole business experience, and then also clientele and your aesthetic too.
100%.
Cool. But now, I mean, we're here for other reasons, but like tell me about like the process of like Shire and Shears, and like kind of why you lean that way. I mean, obviously I love outfit and everything, but
I'm very much like just in my own personal life, like I am a very nerdy person who's like very like attracted to fantasy, video games, like all of that type of a thing. Yes, exactly. So and I actually remember like this was, I want to say it would have been like 2.5 years ago now, but this is when I was like working for my previous company actually. There was a coffee shop like attached to it. It was so funny because I like never would spend time in our break room. I always would just go over to the coffee shop.
It was a great setup. I was there.
It was much like more open and like nice in the coffee shop area. And also because I spent so much time over there, there were these two baristas who worked the same days that I worked. And so you
get closer to them almost.
I did. I totally would like, I'd come over on my downtime, on my lunch break, and I'd just hang out and talk with them. So like, and I know that it was a kind of a joking thing, but you know, when you become friends with people and like you're working for companies that you're not like super happy about, you're just like, I wish we could just start our own thing, and this would be the aesthetic, and you like sit down, you dream up this whole thing. And literally talking with both of them, we're like, oh, we could have like a barbershop / like barista type setup, and it would be all.
Do it.
There are. I'm not counting it out. I'm definitely not counting it out of the eventual plan. But like, I mean, I was, when we would talk about like, I just want people to walk in and it's like a hobbit hole, and that's what I wanted. When I went out on my own, was like eventually, I didn't think it would happen as quickly as it did, but eventually when I could afford my own space, I was like, I'm gonna do it and make it feel like a hobbit hole when you walk in.
I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen for myself. I'm still building. I think we both are on some levels, but
Tim Tam. My dog is here.
Adorable. Breathing on the glass window.
She's like sniffing the outside, like, what's out there?
But I mean, things that I've seen for myself, from you, from other folks that have also kind of stepped out around the same time, it's been amazing to see how fast it actually is or can be to meet some of these goals. I'll talk to, you know, Micki, the other Micki, later on, but like that's a fantastic like example as far as like just how things kind of snowball, right? But yeah, so that's awesome. Let's go back to the thing. But so I guess like, not to like, you know, give away like everything that we're going to talk about, but what really kind of like defined your clientele and like kind of what you like to do, and like even your services as far as things go?
Well, definitely like the two biggest things for me that I felt like were like lacking in the industry was like inclusiveness of like people with sensory needs and like immunocompromised individuals. So when I was like going out on my own, I was like, I really want to like be able to create a space for people like that, just because it had been something that like I had even noticed of like the people that sat in my chair. And even just like little things that I would do to like accommodate sensory needs and stuff like went a really far way, and I didn't realize like how lacking that was in the industry. So I think that was like kind of the initial starts of it, was like having neurodivergent people sitting in my chair and expressing like, I really love that you do this, I love that you do that, and then just kind of like snowballing with that and asking people, well, what else can I do to make it more inclusive? And like I obviously, like I have my own experiences as someone who's neurodivergent growing up and going to salons, and certain things that I like hated about going to salons because I was neurodivergent. So it also was kind of like a good chance for me to like, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, be the hairstylist that I wish that I had growing up.
Create the space that you kind of wish that you had.
Yeah.
Now, so there's a few things that I want to touch on.
Is it okay if I hold her? Sorry.
Let's introduce Tim. So, a few different things. One, will you define what sensory needs are for people watching that may not know?
Yeah. So I would define, I mean, basically like any, I guess, of the senses that you can think of can be something that individuals who are neurodivergent can be like sensitive to. So that includes like light, smells, sounds, touch, like all of those things can be really overwhelming and a lot. And obviously when you're cutting someone's hair, it's like a sensory nightmare, because it's like you're in a salon with like bright lighting.
It's a little bit of obligation too.
Yes.
Like you don't always want to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
or clients may not always want to be there.
And that's the thing too. I mean, like since I've started trying to cater my space to make it more sensory friendly, I've noticed like there's so many people that like want to get regular haircuts and want to have these regular services, but they just like put it off so long because they dread it, and it's such an overwhelming thing for them. So that would be, and I can give some like specific examples too, if that like overarching.
Because that was another part, was like if you wouldn't mind sharing even like things that used to like bother you when you were younger, or like some of the more common ones that you see some of your clients requesting.
Yeah, like I mean, I can say I feel like common ones can be like like when you're talking, like some people, and this is a thing that like I think in general a lot more people are becoming aware of in the industry, is like not everyone wants to talk during their appointment. Some people just want to sit there and chill out. And I will just say too, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm like, as an introverted hairstylist, I'm like, yes, please. Like, we don't have to talk, because I'm talking all day. I get tired of hearing my own voice. So
and we tell the same stories every client. We like each day. I always joke that like when someone new gets hired at our salon, you don't even have to ask them questions. You just have to listen to the same stories, and then by the end of the first shift, like you know everything about them.
It's so true. It's so true. I remember when I was, I'm sorry, this is kind of a rabbit trail, but I remember when I was first like going to cosmetology school. So like I don't know how it is structured in, because did you go in Washington or Bellingham? Okay, cool. So I went to cosmetology school in North Dakota.
What is it like there?
Awful.
How many hours is that?
It was 1,800 hours, which was one of the reasons why I chose to go to North Dakota over Minnesota, because at the time, I don't know if they've changed things, but at the time it was 12 for Minnesota. And I knew that I didn't want to stay in the Midwest, so I was like, I'm going to go to the school with the highest hour requirement so I can transfer it easily. I think there was sorry.
You're good. I was just going to say, for anyone listening that doesn't know, in the U.S., cosmetology licenses are differentiated state to state.
Yeah. So
you have to transfer each license depending on where you move and where you go, basically. Yeah. Washington is one of the higher ones with 1,600 hours. But there's a few other ones that are a little more, and then quite a bit that are less than.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to bring outside hours into the state.
Yeah.
And transfer into Washington. But did great with like just playing.
Yeah, I was like, I tried to be a little proactive because I was like, I know I'm not staying in North Dakota forever, right?
Not your goal.
No. So, but when I was in school, we had like 3 months that were like in the classroom before we went out onto the floor and took models and everything. And I remember the week before we went out onto the floor, they had just like a standard question and answer. They would bring in all of the instructors that normally work out on the floor and give you like an opportunity as students to ask any questions, things that are making you nervous. And my question was, how do you talk to people?
Yep.
And the looks that I got.
It's true though.
It's true. Honestly, I was shocked because like pretty much this was the reaction. Like everyone in the room is like,
which doesn't help anxiety.
Right. Like, but essentially, I felt like everyone was just like, why are you here if you don't like talking to people? Yeah. And it's like, it's not that honestly, this has been a journey for me as a neurodivergent person. Is like, it's not even necessarily that I don't like talking to people. It's just that sometimes I don't know what's like socially acceptable conversation. And like when I'm trying to pick up on random strangers' social cues, like, should I talk? Should I not talk? Like,
and it's not even like just like your neurodivergence to a neurotypical, but like your neurodivergence with another neurodivergence that may not even be aware of that.
Yes.
And it's like there's a whole lot of blending of spices that can happen.
Yes.
That isn't always talked about or even aware of.
Yeah.
A little bit about me, it's like I was pretty introverted and like kind of didn't have like a ton of like, I guess, connections outside of things growing up. And so like when I got into beauty school, I had years of restaurant work experience under my belt, and that has saved me a lot. But I remember, this is going to date me, but applying for jobs at Blockbuster.
Amazing.
Yep. And one of the god-awful like application questions, because back in the day you had to do not only a resume but a stupid application that asked you the same questions, but they had like little quizzes, right? And so you're like, oh, like I remember one of them was like, do you know how to talk to people? And I'm like, you say hi first. I don't know, like, sure.
Right, like literally.
Yeah. Spoiler, I never got hired on.
No!
My dad did, but yeah.
Not this. I feel like being able to say that you worked at Blockbuster is like
that's
iconic. It is. Honestly.
I think I might still have my card somewhere.
Yes.
I guess like going back towards things, unless you had anything else that you wanted to add. Okay. What I thought was really cool about what you said was you mentioned, I just noticed Tim Tam's Beanie Baby tag.
Oh yes, Tim Tam does. She has like a little Beanie Baby tag.
But like informing, even just like starting with small things, and incorporating sensory different services, sensory sensitive different services, that has almost kind of created, like, it starts small as like maybe a small portion of your clientele, and then it gets bigger, and then next thing you know, like, that is your clientele. And I work a lot with clients that have a lot of anxiety. I try to like take my time and just like move slow, ask a lot of questions, explain things as I go. But then I also work with a lot of curls, and for someone else in the industry, like getting into curls is really daunting and kind of scary.
It can be.
And so it's like little bits, and then, but similar, I just think that's really fascinating to hear your story with it. And then also maybe for anyone listening that doesn't know how to start or like where to find their niche, is like, it really just starts one little bit at a time.
It does.
Then, like, next thing you know, you're like, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah, it snowballs for sure.
Which is cool.
Yeah. And I feel like, at least for me, the driving factor has always been just like what feels right at the end of the day, like what I'm feeling passionate about and what makes me excited about being in the industry, and then just like continuing to follow that.
One, having the freedom to be able to do so.
Yes. Working for yourself like opens up that opportunity to like not be so restricted to like, because I don't know how it was for you, but when like at the companies that I was working at previously, like every single one of them were like, we have this branding and you like stick in this branding. And like,
and that's a company.
Yeah.
Like, that's how companies do.
Yeah.
But
like as someone who like maybe wants to like branch out from that or like cater to something more specific, it makes it like difficult.
Like how many salons don't even like, especially when I first moved here, and maybe they're a little bit more common now just because they become trendy again.
Yep.
But like when they weren't, like perms were one of the first things that every salon was like, nope, we're not carrying that.
For real.
Not doing that.
Honestly, you've been inspiring me. I'm like, do I want to try perms again? I'm like, I don't know.
I'm on the education team, and then I've been talking with others to maybe do like a
class.
Well, a class, but then also like
oh my gosh, stop.
Yeah, So the stuff that we could talk about this off the camera.
No.
So the stuff that I use is safe with like metal and different like things.
Yeah.
So you're not limited to just the rods. It's Curl Cult. They'll probably like punch me if I don't mention it.
Yes. Curl Cult. I also use some of Curl Cult's products. Love them.
It's really great.
Yeah.
But they're not paying for this, I promise.
Not sponsored by Curl Cult, but it could be.
It could be. So it's great.
Honestly?
And so we're talking about it, but we need to figure out like,
that's iconic.
It's fantastic.
Wait, that sounds amazing.
Don't take it, anyone.
No one steal that idea, please.
Patented. But I might just bleep all that out too. But
that's valid. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
All right, then keep your secrets.
We'll save it for later. I'll release the unedited version later. Once I have the date established.
Yes, once you have it, like, and then it can be like, all right, let me pause this to
say. But no, we're looking forward to that one. But you and a few other folks have mentioned some interest in it, and it's like, it's so easy and like fun. And I was dreading it when I was in beauty school.
Yep.
Fun fact, my very first perm was on the day before Thanksgiving in beauty school. 8 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Now I can do it in
I would pass away.
4 at least for like a full head of like gray hair.
Oh my gosh. I would pass away.
Because she had to go home and like cook things.
Stop, that's hilarious.
It's fine.
Okay, well,
there's been growth.
Here's the thing. I feel like I'm like low-key traumatized by perms from cosmetology school. Because like, okay, honestly, there was one cool perm that I got, and it wasn't, maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm gonna be roasting people. The most interesting perm that I ever did was like for a teenager and like do the curly top.
Yeah.
And like that I enjoyed, but like the amount of people that I would do like shampoo sets on, and that was my knowledge of like perming, and it just sucked all the life out of it.
I think are harder than perms.
So if you can do that, it's like,
yeah, I mean, it's different skills for sure. Because the first salon I worked at outside of beauty school was like a hair master's right next to a retirement center. So we got everyone to come over and do like roller sets and perms.
Yep.
But otherwise in beauty school, I barely touched the stuff.
Yep.
And so much so that like my first roller set had no clue what I was doing. If someone came in and like asked for one now, I might have some muscle memory to it, but like, I'll take perm over roller set any day.
Yeah. 100%.
And the hood dryer never dried fully, so I just felt like it was like damp.
Yep, that's real.
Yeah. Anyways, but what other things? We've got just like clients. We had so much fun with that.
Yeah. I feel like I took it on a rabbit trail though. I'm like,
just like finding niches and clients and snowballing into it.
Yeah.
And Yeah. I guess that can kind of segue into like what we're like really here to talk about.
Yeah.
But you know, June is Pride Month for many places. I am lucky to have been able to connect a little bit with a salon in Japan, which is fantastic.
So cool.
I know.
It's so cool.
I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah.
But in my first time over there, like we did like a queer haircutting event.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't accept any money. It was just like friends cutting friends' hair, legally, because that's how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting to hear their stories, and then also like hear their experiences as far as like what is different, and like many of them were people living over there from other countries, so foreigners living in Japan, as well as a few locals.
Yeah.
But just hearing that, and like even some of the stylists I worked with in that situation asked, you know, what does it mean to be a queer hairstylist, because that over there is so separated with like your at-home personality versus your business personality. And we can ramble on about that as long as time lasts, but that's not really the point, because there's so many different factors that play into that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what is important is like what really is that, I guess, like how does one provide those services, and kind of like education for that, and then also, which kind of ties into your work with sensory folks, is like what can we do, and what kind of steps do you do to kind of approach that? Have you experienced any personal experiences, and like what does that kind of mean for you?
Yeah, 100%. Well, it is interesting too, like being like a queer hairstylist who focuses on neurodivergent folks and creating a sensory friendly spaces, because I do feel like, and granted this might also be because I'm in my little queer neurodivergent bubble with my clients.
We'll take the bubble.
But like I do feel like there is so much crossover in like queer culture and neurodivergent culture, in the sense that it's like we've been told like our whole lives like these things are normal, these things are acceptable, and like
but you just innately do not fit any of them.
Yeah, you don't fit into them. Like I'm not even gonna like attempt to remember the statistic, because whatever. But I do know that there is like a large percentage of like the trans and like just gender queer community that is also neurodivergent, and I believe that that's
the same big numbers.
I'm like, I believe that that's honestly a lot to do just with the fact that like for neurodivergent people, we so oftentimes are looking at things through a different lens than like a neurotypical lens, because we're like, why does that matter? Like when it comes to like gender norms and like the things, the expectations that we put on gender, so many times neurodivergent people are like, but why? Like logically it doesn't make sense. Like and like, so it's I feel like there's almost this like bleed of like that affects that for me with my clients. But like, I don't know, for me at least, when I think of like being a queer hairstylist, like I think of someone who's like open-minded, accepting, non-judgmental, someone who's willing to like get creative, someone who's willing to like actually listen to their clients. Because when we're in hair school, we're taught, oh, like these are face shapes. Here's like how you should be like doing haircuts to create a more desirable face shape, or like these are haircuts that are more like women's cuts, men's cuts, like, and
this length isn't appropriate for after a certain point or whatever.
We divide things up like that, and at a certain point you just kind of question like, well, that's not really an accurate umbrella for everyone. And like, especially when it comes to like the thing that has literally never made sense to me, will never make sense to me, why do we price things differently based on gender? Like,
and that's a whole different other.
It's like a whole other thing. But I'm like, I've never understood. I'm like, if someone has short hair, just call it a short haircut.
Yep.
Like, so many women and gender non-conforming folks
Especially
get short
nowadays,
haircuts.
like cis, straight,
It
queer,
doesn't matter. Like, they don't have to have any of those. Like, do you know the amount of moms that get short haircuts because they're like, I'm so sick and tired of dealing with my hair. Like, they just want to like get up and go.
Well, and that's one thing that I've personally been seeing within the industry is that, and maybe it's because we're in the Pacific Northwest, whatever, but more and more people don't want to do their hair, or they don't have time for it.
Yep.
And I also, personal soapbox, I don't think that we're educating them to be able to do their hair like their grandparents or anything used to, right?
Yep.
And different like status quos with like social events and stuff. It's not as like high caliber as it once was.
Yep.
We wear our sweats like to the airport now. Like, you don't really have to get as dressed up as they used to.
100%.
That being said, I think I'm gonna let you go back to it because I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, you're all good. You're all good. If you think of it,
I'll chime in.
Just chime in, because I feel that. I'm like, as an ADHDer, I'm like
the lengths and stuff. We're there. We got it. Just seeing that difference within it, and I know, I think, and this is just me making shit up, but I feel like maybe that started because like shorter hair has to come in more frequently to update it, whereas longer hair, it doesn't necessarily.
Yep.
But I think that at some point it got mixed up and twisted into like, okay, well, if I'm cutting someone who identifies as male and they have long hair, why are they paying $30 when someone who identifies as female, at least at birth, and has the same length of hair has to pay $80? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's why I'm like, I think it's interesting too, like how the industry is like
timing and stuff.
I think a lot of salons are kind of starting to move more towards hourly. Because like they're realizing like it makes no sense for us to be charging per service. Because like, I mean, I can see for myself, like there are times people sit in my chair and like they have curly hair and I need 2 hours to do their hair. And there's other times someone comes in with curly hair and like I have them, my curly haircut right now, standard, I book out for like an hour and a half because I find that usually is enough time for everyone.
Consultation products and stuff,
So, but like, I mean, sometimes you'll get someone with curly hair that comes in for a curly haircut and they have pretty fine hair, so it doesn't take nearly as long to dry and all of that stuff.
Their definition of curly is different than like someone with a tighter coil.
100%. So I'm like, that's why in my mind sometimes I'm like, I definitely think for myself probably like next year, and I'm gonna be noodling on it this year.
That's the beauty, and like we are so appreciative of you clients that sit with us through those noodling moments, because nobody teaches us these things. The industry has changed so much since we left beauty school. How long have you been doing hair professionally?
6 years.
6 years?
Yeah.
And I'm on 9th year.
Heck yeah.
But like, that's still a baby stylist compared to some
people. I know, there's so many people that's like, I've been in this industry for 20 years. Like,
Send me, I want to talk to you. I'm working on another project. I've got 15 projects. But yeah, I mean, that's the intimidating part, and also like mentally hard, because you're like, what is one reasonable, approachable? Because I think you try to be approachable with clients too, as far as pricing goes, and myself as well. But you know, it's interesting to see that. Going back to things, and what I'll touch on because you already said it, but what I kept hearing over in Japan for most of it, and what I've noticed for my own clients and services and things like that and experiences, is it really is just about listening and doing what the client wants, not really interpreting it. And I think that's where I was going with it. We made it.
Yeah.
But I think that like especially going back to beauty school, I remember when we were going over proportions,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "Oh, if you're a bigger person, you need bigger hair." And I remember
Yeah.
this like image of this like bigger woman, and they showed her bald because it was a line drawn in a textbook, and then the next picture they showed her with like humongous like Farrah Fawcett hair, and I was like, I mean, yeah, I guess she's in proportion, but that's
like,
not reasonable, and also it's not in fashion. Like at that point, it was like short cropped pixie cuts.
Yep.
And like that juxtaposition can be just as powerful and more of a statement, honestly.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, like, I'm gonna be honestly, I like when I see a fat person rocking a short haircut, I'm like,
get it?
Like, I genuinely am like, you look so hot. Like, I just like,
I love it.
because like the other thing too is like I do think that there's like a certain level of like who cares about the beauty standards? And to me, that's so hot.
Well, and that's fashion.
Yes.
There's trends and then there's fashion. And
Yes.
I think they sound similar and oftentimes want to think that they go hand in hand, but oftentimes like fashion is kind of spitting in the eye of trends.
Yeah.
And
I would argue like queer fashion especially is so like the amount of I literally just had a client last week who like came in, legitimately showed me a picture of Lord Farquaad and was like, I want the Farquaad. And I'm like,
times that I've gotten like people show me that same picture and be like, do not make me look
they're like,
this.
don't make me do this. But then there's like a queer neurodivergent person out there that's like,
give me that page boy.
Give me the page boy.
Yes.
Like, and I feel like, and I think that is why you need to be really intentional as a queer hairstylist to listen to people, because like so often I have people that sit in my chair that feel like they haven't been listened to. They ask for something and they're never given it, or they're like discouraged from getting it because they're like,
I shouldn't say like that was my experience working for some of those salons. Like I was actively told sometimes to be like, talk them out of that because your name's going to be on that. I'm like, if they want that, that's what I want to give.
Yes.
And going back to the same thing, I think that there's, dare I say, old school mentality of we're the artist and it's our chair and you're our canvas.
Yeah.
And that works for a lot of people, like for their personality, for their clients that want that, because there are a lot of clients out there that do want that.
Yeah.
They want to be able to sit down and kind of turn their brain off and just let someone do their thing. That's never been how I operate. And in the few times that I've had it done to me, I'm just kind of like, thanks.
Yeah. Yep. I also like, personally, I feel like I mean, there are definitely some people who it'll be like the first time they see you, they're like, do whatever.
And input's important. Like it's, being open to our input or asking for like things like that's extremely important.
Right.
100%. You don't have to listen to it, but like
I always use that as a precursor. I'm like, you can ignore everything that I'm saying. Like you can literally be like, nope, I want to do this, but like these are my thoughts.
I always like to ask them questions.
Yes.
And then I'll pitch in being like, okay, I hear you, I like that, and I actually agree with it, but I wanted to hear your thoughts, and then I'm going to actually share what I would like to see, or what I kind of within meshing of your ideas, and kind of like how we can approach that together.
Yeah. And
kind of like merge that, but I always like to hear their idea first.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of like pitch in with like either technical like know-how as far as like, okay, well, you like that, but we can't do that exactly.
Yep.
So we're gonna do that instead of just like straight up cutting it off right
away.
Because I think, maybe this is a hot take, I think clients know more about their hair than what stylists have been told they do. And like, I'll have someone show me a picture, and the instinct, when we first got into the industry was like, oh, well, you don't have that hair and you can't do that.
Yeah.
Chances are this person with stick straight hair knows that they don't have curly hair.
Right. They do. Like half the time they'll say that. They're like, I know I have a different hair texture, but I like the shape of this haircut.
Yeah.
Like, and at that point, then it's your job as a stylist to educate them on how it will look different on them, and then see if like that end goal still, never mind. Sorry, I like
No,
just
you're
saw
fine.
that. But your job as the stylist is to like, see that picture, see their hair, and like show them why that might, like, why it'll be different, how it'll be different on their hair, and like educate them.
How it customizes it for them. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's not even a bad thing, right?
No.
Oh, well, whatever. We tried. If it dies, it dies.
I'm a yapper, sorry.
No, you're fine. I meant to charge it earlier.
Real.
But I guess like going back to things, it's like really about listening to your clients and being open-minded. I really like that because I think that is really the trick. A lot of folks want something that's maybe not in season yet.
Yeah.
And just being able to someone who's going to sit with that.
Yeah.
Or at least honor it and respect it.
100%.
Even if it may not be what you want.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's the other thing too. Like, I can say as a hairstylist, I give haircuts to people all the time that I don't like. That doesn't matter, you know? Like,
it's not our hair.
It's not my hair. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, I get to go home and I'm not doing their hair. I'm not styling their hair. Like, they know their hair. They know what they want. And like trusting that clients do know what they want is like such a huge thing. I feel like
at least
it's
on some level.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I do feel like at least for myself, like I can say that as you build up that trust with clients, like they do then sometimes come in and they're like, hey, I want to try something different, but I don't know. But like usually it takes a few times.
Sometimes like a year.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and it depends on the client, but like it's been like a year or two and someone's like, I want to change things. Sometimes that's the hard thing too, is like you've been doing their hair for so long. It's like, how can I see this person in a different way?
That's so real. That's such a challenge that I'm like constantly trying to work through.
Yeah.
Like
like when someone asks for bangs and you've never, I'm like, how will it look? I'm like, bangs can change so many things about your face. Like I don't honestly know. For those that can foresee those things, like that's a superpower and I would love to have it, but I'm down for the exploration.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like, especially when you're working with clients who have like texture, which I'm assuming you probably work with a ton of clients that have texture. Like textured bangs look completely different than someone who's coming in with like just wavy to straight hair.
Or just
like
the density of where you need to part the bangs for those. Otherwise you'll get like the flyaways, or maybe you want like a full face, or if it's just like sparse kind of like coils.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And things that I'm still like developing as I go with it too.
Yeah.
That's one, I don't know, this may be like a offshoot thing too, but that's one of the reasons why I love working with curls, is that there's always something to learn.
100%.
I feel like it's one of those things where, you know, there's always growth that can happen there.
Yeah.
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 Even if you've been doing the same haircut and things like that, you're like, okay, it's going to behave differently.
That's how I feel about curls too. Yeah. Like I'm not by any means like a curl specialist. No. I'm like working on getting better with curly hair, but like over the last year I've seen a lot more curly hair in my chair. And like it's fun. It makes me like excited about my job because I'm like I want to like learn more and like just continue to grow and get better with it, because there's so many different types of like textures.
And I don't know about you, but also just to kind of state this for those that may not have a like stylistic background, but for me, like it's not that I don't enjoy doing straight or like wavy hair.
Yeah.
But for me, curls or curly whatever, it triggers a different part of my brain.
Yeah.
And it's like a puzzle, and I get to like do a little mental exercise every
Yep.
time. And as long as I have time for that, like I'm happy, like all for that.
Yep.
Otherwise, like it's a different kind of puzzle when you're doing straight hair and working with different things too. But yeah, I think that especially with how curls have been treated over the years, like within the industry, that knowledge and that type of puzzle doesn't always get talked about, shown, or learned about as much.
Yeah.
And you really have to build trust with clients to get the clientele to be able to practice that too.
Yeah, 100%.
Takes guts and making mistakes and everything between.
Yep,
right? So,
100%. Yeah. I feel like also too, I mean, at least for me, like, I'm curious what your experience is working in Washington, but like, or not
Yeah,
working
you're
in
fine.
Washington, but like going to school in Washington. Tim Tam. There was just a human. It's fine.
2 humans.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
You're okay. Okay. At least my experience when I went to school in North Dakota, no curl education.
Oh yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Like, and it was.
I had one instructor that did really her best to have like a little bit to it, but it was just on the mannequin and it wasn't everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours, like, we didn't even get mannequin. We literally got nothing. And then on top of it, I mean, it was bad, the school that I went to, because there was literal, like, segregation happening within the school of, like, the black students work on the textured hair because they already have, like, a baseline knowledge of it.
And the clients that come to that, you know, it's like everybody wants them to have a good experience and to like, walk out with the service that they get, and it would sometimes, like, our restrictions too, it's like how long would that take someone who doesn't have as much familiarity with that service to do it. So it's kind of a weird in between of like, how can we make this like something for everybody and
100%.
also like still like make everybody happy and feel comfortable. And so I think it's not just in North Dakota, that happens here,
like everywhere.
And it's unfortunate, and I understand kind of like how that kind of happens. And I don't have an answer for it, but just more hands-on experience. Yeah,
I mean, I also feel like, at least for me, I mean, I do think it's way different in North Dakota because the diversity was like not there.
But it's, I mean, comparative to other places, Washington doesn't have as much either, right?
Yeah.
So like, we had maybe like a couple clients that would come into the school regularly and they would have their person. And then when I moved back to my hometown, that's honestly when I started to really dive into wanting to further my education with curls, is because I would have clients come to me and be like, I just moved here, I don't have any community, and I don't have anyone to do my hair. And I'm like, well, I'll learn, like, I'll do my best. And
100%.
Like, that's, you know, that takes guts for both parties. And patience.
Yes.
But
100%.
yeah, and then you get that. So it's like, that's not always the same thing. And I think that also has been an unintentional, like, reason why some of that education hasn't been as prevalent. And I think also, quite honestly, it's been hidden behind a paywall for a long time.
It has been.
So
yeah, 100%. I also just feel like with the school that I went to, I'm like, it wouldn't have hurt for us to have like educators that were like actually knew what they were doing when it came to curly hair, because like the educators we had
was linked to a bigger company,
yes,
like mine was, and maybe yours was too, like, and I don't know the logistics or anything like that, but even to have someone come in from professional education and like go over that, like that would be monumental. Like that's how
huge.
I learned so much afterwards, was linking up with a salon that did that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. But it does take like lots of like hands-on and like lots of people being willing to like take a chance. Like, which I'm like so deeply grateful for all the people that like helped me learning when it came to, and like still continue to, because like I think that's the other thing as a curl, like someone who wants to work with curls more, is like you do just have to like be honest, like this is my level of experience, and I understand if you're uncomfortable with that, but like I am more than happy to like work through things with you and like
and do some personal research.
Yes, 100%. That's the other thing that's helped me a lot, is like I have had people message me that like have those curl types that I haven't worked with. And then I'm like, you would be the first person that I've cut hair like that, and going and doing that research on your own beforehand so you can like prepare for the appointment.
Well, I think that's one thing that, like, not to like stay on curls, but kind of like bring it back, even with like queer, sensitive, neurodivergent folks too, it takes that same type of courage and same type of responsibility to do research and to be vulnerable and to tell them like, hey, like I've never done a funky mullet before.
Yep.
But I'm down to check it out, and I feel like clients will 9 times out of 10 respect that.
100%.
Honestly, come back even more just from that vulnerability.
100%.
Because finding someone that's willing to take a chance, willing to sit with it and work with them on it, especially when they can't find anyone at all, like that says a lot.
Yeah. The whole like fake it till you make it like
Yeah.
mentality done so much harm in the salon industry. Like, why do you have to pretend like you know what you're doing all the time?
Well,
Like,
and so many stylists, I think, say no to those clients,
Yep.
not because of any malicious reason, but just because they're scared and they want
Yeah.
that person to feel good about themselves and they don't feel confident in their own skills.
100%.
And I think that, you know, everyone is taught this, but like stylists especially, there's so much pressure on hairstylists, especially. I finished school right when Instagram was taking off, and then it like became a whole different beast of its own. But like, there's so much pressure to be on all the time
It's
and
so
to
true.
know a master of everything, and that's just not practical.
No.
If that's you, fantastic. Like, you're the guru for everyone.
Yep.
But like, I don't know. Like, I think the fake it till you make it thing is unintentionally dangerous. It helps with some confidence, and it does work to some degree.
Yeah.
But I also think that vulnerability with knowing what will work and like just being honest.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of color. Like, I will say I'm definitely more cutting and perming and different things like that. I will do color, and I can do color. But I will tell people, it's like, listen, at some point, like, I will send you elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's nothing against my own skill level or anything like that, but at that point, like, what are my priorities?
Right, because it's like you only have so many hours in a day, and like if you want to improve your yes, and if you're wanting to improve your skills, like you do kind of have to like focus on things.
Yeah.
Like there's certainly hairstylists who do it all, but like I almost feel like there's like, what type of a hairstylist do you want to be? Do you want to be jack of all trades, or do you want to be someone that's
which
like
is valuable?
Right, totally
and
valuable.
Important. Yeah.
But like if you're wanting to be more of a specialist, like if there's certain things that you enjoy doing over others, I don't think there's anything wrong with just being like, this is what I do, and that's it.
It comes back to how our brains work.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like, I can look at a cut and like understand it more and break it down. And when I look at color, I can do that like meme with the lady that has all the algorithms swooshing past. But ultimately, I'm like, my brain can figure that out with time and like in the right environment. But yeah, and so
yeah,
I think knowing our own I'm going to say neurodivergence with that too, and just working with our own brains and like not even specialties, but just like what feels natural, and like listening to that and being able to really honor where our priorities and interests lie, I think really says a lot.
100%.
And I mean, I'm definitely down to like learn more about color in the future, whenever that
may not 100%.
But
I'm like, oh my god, color is so funny to me.
Give me
I'm
lightener.
like,
I can do lightener, which is funny.
I am interested in like the most hyper specific color services, which is literally buzz cuts
with the painted
design. That's all I want to do.
Creative minds, like give me an abstract painting. I
would love to paint someone's head. That sounds
fantastic.
Amazing.
Yep.
Which I think is like low key kind of why I like, I mean, not to keep on coming back to curls, but like I kind of do like curly hair for that reason, because it almost feels like sculpting as opposed to like, all right, here's like all of these specific guides that I'm creating.
I get excited because I tell this to like, I sub at the beauty school sometimes, but I tell all the students and also just other people, whoever will listen really.
Yeah.
But to me, short hair and curly hair are very sculptural.
Yes.
And you build kind of like out, I'd say. That's a bad description of it, but you get it. And then longer hair is more architectural.
Yes.
And so you need all of that like internal, I mean, you need that with curls too, but it's a different mindset, and you have to look at things. And I feel like, honestly, I think that if you can master changing your brain to look at things differently and like the way it thinks, like that's really the key to understanding and becoming more comfortable with those
Yeah.
textures.
100%.
That was a lot, but
Yeah. I do feel like you wanted to talk more specifically about like the neurodivergent like catering things. So I'm like,
I say that because that's something that I've seen you.
Yes.
I don't want to say market, but like really advertise for yourself for.
Yeah.
And by advertise, I mean not really like whatever, but just make it known
Yes.
that you are something like someone that's willing to do that, and also one of the few places that I know of and are visibly able to see that can cater to many folks that have that those needs.
100%. Yeah, so I guess like I'm thinking I'll just kind of give you like a little bit of a rundown of like what I usually do.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the time.
Yes,
or
go
not
for it.
The time, but like
the percentage of like the battery.
We're at 13. We're good.
Okay,
we got it. We got some
time. So typically the way that I approach, like I just approach all of my services the same way when it's a new client because I don't know who's coming to me for what reason. Mm-hmm. So usually I'll set someone down. The first thing is usually my room. People like notice it's more sensory friendly.
What sensory friendly things?
So I have dimmable lights is one thing. I have like a separate room entirely. So even just like having a more private space for a lot of people makes it like less overstimulating. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So even just me like closing the door.
I like having the little suite. I was a little surprised because I was really anxious to get into like a bigger space again, but I'm like,
it's so nice.
It's kind of nice.
Honestly, like I hope I never like. I mean,
I wish I had a little bit more space for like classes and things.
Yes, 100%.
You know,
I feel like I have a hard time like. Granted, I don't know where things will lead for me, but I'm like, I have a hard time picturing like working out in a main salon area again, just because like I didn't realize it, but like it was overstimulating for me. Like people blow drying, everyone talking. I felt like I could not. The music.
And someone's always like laughing, which is great.
But it's overstimulating.
Yeah.
And it's like all of that all at once is like so much. Especially and so overwhelming.
At certain companies where you literally are like back to back to back to back. You're just like
okay. I would literally get to a point like partway through my workday where like I would pretty much go nonverbal because I'm just like I've been trying to talk to people all day and I'm overwhelmed. And so I'm just going to talk to people about things that I have to talk to them about and not like having small talk or like continued conversation outside of that because it was just like too much. Mm-hmm. So that's like the first thing initially that people usually notice. But when they sit down in my chair, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give you like a rundown of everything I have. I have some like accommodations if you need or want any of them. And I have fidget toys and earplugs.
Earplugs are a great idea.
Yeah.
Do you do disposable ones, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have the disposable earplugs. Honestly, you'd be surprised. I think it's just because I'm in a separate room. Because I was offering those when I was working for the other company I was working for. And I had a lot more people take me up on earplugs when I was in a big space. Yeah. So like if you're someone that's like trying to be more sensory friendly, but you're like, oh, I don't have my own suite, like earplugs. That will make a huge difference for people.
It's so simple, but I never even would have thought of that.
Right.
Yeah. You get the big box of them too.
Yeah, you can get a big old box of them. I mean, I still have like the first box I ever bought, like 2.5 years ago.
That's great.
So those were actually the first things that I did was the fidget toy and the earplugs.
Is it the same fidget toy, or do you get like things that you can give them?
Actually, like. Kind of will just like
fidget toys.
I really love fidget toys. I'm obsessed.
With you now?
Yes. I always have fidget toys with me. I'm obsessed with fidget toys. So like honestly, I just kind of will like pick things out that I think are like interesting and fun. Like right now, I have some that are like little video game controllers.
Oh, yeah. The little like
they're like little video game controllers.
Little buttons.
And then I also have like a keyboard, like a keycap, like clicky one.
Like
those.
Escape key or something.
Yeah,
okay.
I have some that are like, I don't even know how to describe them, but they're probably the most popular one that I have. They're like you can take them apart, and they're like little different links. And so you can like snap them together, take them apart.
Different like shapes and stuff.
Yeah, and like you can bend them and stuff, and every time they bend, they make like a little like click noise. So a lot of people really like those.
Can I ask where you find them?
Honestly,
just for people that might want to like incorporate.
Usually either online or if you're in Seattle.
Oh.
Math and Stuff.
Oh, honestly though,
Math and Stuff is great. I love Math and Stuff. They
not sponsored, but
not sponsored by Math and Stuff, but I love them so much. They're like amazing, and they have so many really cool, fun fidgets. So, usually the ones that I get from Math and Stuff are a little bit more expensive. So, like those ones, I'm like making sure that there's something that I can sanitize, all of that stuff, and it can be reused. But then I do have like every once in a while online, I'll just like order a box of fidget toys because like, especially if I have like a kid's cut or like, I don't know, just in general. Like, it's kind of nice to be able to be like, do you want to take one with you or whatever? And, like, have some that are, like, cheaper that you're not super, like, oh, I spent, you know.
There goes my $20 fidget
right.
toy. Yeah.
Like, I just spent a bunch of money on that.
Yeah.
There's, like, a quarter of my service cost right there or whatever. So, yeah, those are two things. I also have a weighted lap pad.
Oh, that's great.
And you can.
I thought about getting, like, a weighted cape.
Yes.
Like a chemical case?
I want to get one of those eventually.
Okay. You let me know. I mean, if there's a pack, maybe we could split it too.
Honestly, yeah. I'm very curious about those. But the weighted lap pad, probably the number one thing that people like.
What? Because I've never seen one.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
So the one that I have, it's literally just like
Describe this.
It basically is just like a little like pad.
Is it hard or is it flexible?
It's flexible.
Okay.
So I don't actually know off the top of my head like what the material is that it's like made of, but I assume it's some sort of
picture like that like leaded vest from the dentist.
Yes. No, honestly, that's kind of like the material. I would say like the outside of it is more like not leather, but like probably faux leather. Yeah.
Okay.
Or pleather, honestly, yeah. And then there's like little weighted beads on the inside of them. There are some though that I really want to get that are like gel.
Oh yeah.
And they have like glitter in them. So it's like a fun little sensory mat too.
I would love that.
I know. Yeah. I would love that. Tim Tam.
Oh. All
right. But yeah, so weighted lap pad. My cape has those little hand holes. Why does every cape not have hand holes?
I don't know. I mean, why do dresses not have pockets?
That's true. Yeah. But like, I find like clients, also kids, really like that because like I feel like kids have almost like object permanence stuff with their hands. So like,
or even if they're playing with something.
Right.
Yeah.
So the amount of times I'm doing a kid's cut and it's just like the cape's off to the side.
It's just all on their lap.
Like,
anyways.
yeah, so having like holes that they can stick their hand through prevents them from being covered.
Really.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if we can say that, but it's like a blanket that has sleeves.
Yes. A blanket that has sleeves of no particular brand.
No particular brand.
No, but so those are like a couple of the initial things that I do, but then I also always like give the opportunity for them, like if there's anything that I can do throughout the course of the service to make you feel more comfortable, just tell me. Like I will not
open and willing to like accommodate them a little bit more. You don't have to go crazy.
No.
But like just little bits help.
Yeah. And like it can be like even just opening that door for like communication for neurodivergent people is so huge because so many times we're like sitting there like,
well, we're told not to like speak up or do anything.
Right.
And
if you're feeling like
you don't want to inconvenience anyone.
Yes. And if you're feeling like any discomfort, it's just like shove it down kind of a thing. But I'm like,
and how many times throughout our day do we do that?
Yeah. Like constantly, especially as a hairstylist. Yeah. But like, it can be like the simplest thing is like, oh, the blow dryer is too hot. The temperature of the water is a little cold. Yeah. Like,
simple little fixes that
so easy.
Literally anyone can do. You don't even have to be like super sensitive to them.
Yeah, 100%. So, those are like kind of the things that I do initially. But I mean, another thing, and honestly, you mentioned you do this with your clients, like explaining the process as you're going.
Breaking it down. It's half the time it's for me.
Yeah.
To like put my brain in order of operations.
Yes.
but I'm always happy to tell them what's
Yeah.
the process too.
So I do that too. Like I will, like, we'll do the whole consultation, we'll figure out where we're going with the haircut, and then I'll literally tell them like what I'm gonna do. And if we're not talking like actively, I'll usually tell them like, okay, now I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
If we're talking and conversation is flowing, I feel like it's like feels weird to interrupt them and be like, okay, now I'm gonna section your hair like this.
Yeah.
But if we're not talking, I'm like, yeah, I can just explain that stuff.
And
so
some people don't need that.
No.
Some people like that.
Some people do, and like I feel like especially for more my like autistic clients, that's super helpful for them. Because like,
well, even anxiety too.
Yes.
It's like, what can I expect?
Yes, 100%. That just like puts them at ease.
Because you can, I mean, as a client, you can get the same haircut from different stylists, and it will be a different process. And if that's something that is jarring for you,
Yes.
That can be really dysregulating.
Yeah.
And even just being able to break down, being like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to get the same result, but like, this is the path that I'm going to take. I think really helps, like, their brains, but also my brain kind of sometimes be like, okay, like, this is how I can anticipate this next move and like the process. And so there's not like a fear or anxiety around the unknown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Couple other things.
Yeah.
I like offer a recut policy. I feel like it's like that should be a thing across the board, but like
I like to guarantee my work.
Yes.
And I think that you don't have to, again, go wild with it.
No.
And keep it within reasonable time frames. And also, you know, if it truly isn't a recut, but something completely different, it's okay to, you know, potentially charge for that too.
100%. Yeah.
But for me personally, I don't mind doing that, because I would rather someone come back to me being like, hey, this didn't work, or like something's off here, and like, I trust you to fix it. And if it's something I can fix, which most of the time, like, yeah, 99.99% of the time, like, that's the case. Otherwise, like, we can adapt and do something different. But at least that's something that I know, and I can grow my skills.
Yeah.
It's a hard conversation to have with anybody. Like, there's been times when I've been doing their hair for years, and like, I just had maybe like an off day. I don't know what happened.
Right. You're a human.
Yeah.
Like,
but like, it's nice to be able to offer that, so they don't feel like they can't talk to you, or they have to find someone new for something.
100%. I feel like there is, like, at least for me working in salon environments, there was always stylists who would like take it personally when they got a recut.
It's easy to do.
Which I understand, because like, you know, it is like a bit embarrassing, and like, you're like, oh, I messed up, like, and
it's a vulnerable thing.
100%.
Depending on how people handle it, like, yeah.
100%. But I also feel like, well, one, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not offering recuts, because like, that also literally is giving you an opportunity to learn, like,
from yourself,
from your literal past
you
mistakes.
Can't blame another stylist for that. Like,
100%.
And I think that's the hard part, right? Is you have to take ownership of that.
Yeah, you have to like confront your own work and like see the flaws in it and where you can improve, and that can be really difficult for people. It's difficult.
If the education's not there, it's like, okay, well, what did I do, or what could I do differently?
Yes, 100%.
For sure.
100%. But that's like one thing. The other thing is too is like, I mean, I feel like it does make it more accessible for neurodivergent people, because so often like you get to the end of the haircut and you're like, well, you're really averse to change, and like, oh, I'm seeing this new person, and like, oh, this is freaking me out, like, whatever. And sometimes it takes like a good 2-3 days of them sitting with their hair and being like, I like it now. I never pressure people to be like, oh my gosh, I love it. Like, obviously I love when I get that reaction, but like, some of my clients are gonna be like, okay. That's like, me. I've literally
I feel so bad half the time. I'm like, yeah, that's good.
But I'm like, that's the thing. I have gotten reactions from clients where I'm like, they didn't like their hair.
Yeah.
And then they come back to me, whatever, for their next haircut, and they're like, oh my gosh, it was the best haircut I've ever gotten. But based on the reaction, like, I'm supposed to know. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. But like, I think it telling people, like, for me, my recut policy is like within 7 days, I'll recut your hair for free. Anything after that, I'm like, it's just a haircut. Yeah. Because I don't want people taking advantage.
You have to set boundaries.
100%. But
within reason, and like, you can always like personally figure that out for yourself, depending on case by case.
Absolutely. And there's been people who have messaged me like on the 8th day, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be like, I tell them, I'm like, technically my policy is 7 days. It's been 8 days, but like, it's fine.
If that's
if it's constantly happening, then it's like, But, so I don't know. I feel like it benefits like you as the stylist to learn from your past mistakes.
And you build that trust.
Yeah. And like, I would rather, like, honestly, at this point in my career, I think when I was like earlier on still learning and like feeling really insecure about where I was at, like skill wise, a recut used to feel devastating because it was like, oh, I messed up.
Some companies make it devastating.
They do.
Yeah.
100%. It's like a shame thing. Like, oh, X person got.
You're going to get fired.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you going to get fired when you're still learning? Like,
right.
That's not fair.
100%.
Within reason, there's still like things to be done and like growth that needs to be shown and like things like that. But at the same time, like, it shouldn't have to be an embarrassing thing.
Right.
It's life. Right?
Yeah, it's just life, and you're gonna mess up sometimes.
And I mean, I'll go on this little like thing, but then we should probably wrap it up.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. But like, just like making mistakes, and so many folks that I went to beauty school with don't even do hair anymore. They either didn't take their tests or they tried it for a little bit, and it's really hard emotionally. This career is really hard. And that same feeling of, and I think I can loop it back with curls or any kind of like different service that like you might be learning. There is that like grace period that you have to have for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really hard to not have for yourself, but I think it's really hard to find for yourself in today's world with social media, with expectations, both our own expectations and like the public's expectations of what it should be like for a hairstylist nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really the important thing too, is like being able to find grace for yourself and patience, and being able to take those hits and know that they don't have to be life-changing. It's okay to not be perfect, especially when you're first starting out with any kind of like skill or service that you're starting to carry or anything like that.
100%. There's going to be a learning curve there. Yeah.
So I guess just to kind of wrap things up, anything that you would like to kind of say, definitely like let folks know where they can find you if they want to book with you, and like Instagram page, things like that, or other contact methods. And then any final words, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I guess for like finding me, you can find me on social media at Shire and Shears.
Is there underscores?
Nope, no underscores. All one. That's a great question. I'm questioning myself, but then like, actually, this just goes to show how recent this change has been. No, you're right. It's Shire dot and dot Shears.
There we go.
That's where you can find me on social media. I guess I'm trying to think like how I think it's like good.
What would you recommend or say to the public or other stylists that want to maybe offer these things, but not know how, or let's kind of like put that spin on it?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I think like the best way for like you as a stylist, if you're someone that's wanting to cater to like a more sensory safe environment and stuff,
or even queer,
or even just queer,
yeah.
Number one, just ask the community, like, what are things that you can do? Because, like,
you don't even have to be in it.
You don't even have to be in it. You just have to, like, be receptive to, like, communicating and, like, opening that door for, like, what can I do to make my space more accessible in general? I feel like when it comes to sensory things, it's really just going to be completely specific to the individual that's in your chair, because like
that's really true.
Some people are
curls are the same way.
Yeah,
like each set of curls is going to be different.
100%.
Each person is going to be different.
Yeah.
Each expectation or what they seem as approachable or like sensory safe
Yep.
is going to be a different caliber each time too. And also you can only do so much as one person, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like definitely, like it will really depend on the environment that you find yourself in, like what your workspace is like, all of that stuff. But like just being willing to have a conversation with a client and not just like making assumptions about what they can't handle, opening that door for them.
Do you recommend, not to go too far over or anything, but do you recommend, like I know like Instagram and other like social media platforms have like those polls and those questions. Do you find those helpful, or would you recommend maybe touching base with the clients that you do have?
Yeah, I feel like social media polls definitely can be helpful, but I do think like it can be really helpful literally asking the clients that are in your chair.
I know when I've used those polls, it's like 90% of the time it comes 50-50. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that is so not helpful.
Right, it didn't like actually help me narrow anything down. My thing with like so many of the stuff that I've added has been from literally talking to clients, like what can I do to make things.
Well, I think if you see like your stylist posting those things, like engage.
Mhm.
Like it's not trying to single you out or take some time or too much time out of your thing, but if that's you and you see that, like definitely feel like sharing your story with
100%.
Because otherwise you don't, how's anyone supposed to know?
Yeah, it's true, and I think that like slowly we can hopefully start to like push the industry just like in general in a more inclusive way.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be everything.
No,
it can't.
You can
be
take
everything.
baby steps. I know. I have I have added, and I will continue to add things like as they come up.
Beautiful thing of like the early years of business is like you're really defining things, and it's expensive and you're learning things, but like it's really cool to see. One, also just as an outsider for your business, like I think it's really cool to see you kind of like just having more of that and like more of that presence and like awareness to it too. Not awareness, but like visibility. And so I don't know, I'm enjoying your journey, so yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I know, I'm getting worried.
Stop.
All right, we'll stop there. My name is Nick. You can find me online at Nics, Nics, _ the word and _ CUTS.
Yes.
Which also nicsandcuts.com.
Iconic name.
It took a while to figure that
it's
one out.
It's so good though. It's so iconic.
It's fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Again, we didn't really go over this because I just jumped into it. This is the first interview of a few, but I'm sitting down with stylists that are in the community for Pride and kind of talking about, gosh, what are we talking about? Our goal is to talk about like the identity of hair and how they intersect, and especially during this Pride season, as just a way to kind of like shine some light on it, but then also just like give voice to people that may not have the ability to do so, or just different ways, and also putting it in like a different industry spotlight too.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, thanks. Bye, Tim Tam. Oh, she's out.
Tim Tam is literally asleep on the floor.
All right. I'll see you next time for the next interview.
Bye.